Good evening, YouTube and viewers. So, yesterday I cut the stream, not cut it short, but it was short, dedicated to a specific subject because now to talk a little bit more about my, let's say, at least the past 10 days or so. I've been a bit stuck in the same spot, which is also super expensive to be here. Electricity costs are really high. The mooring fees are actually quite expensive. Well, combined together, it becomes twice as much as it normally should be. And then I was waiting, well, trying to get people to help me get the parts I needed to repair what's wrong with the boat, and I was working 4 days on that stuff. Finally came to the final part, and it just literally turned out it's not working altogether. So I was back to scratch, and then figured I'm gonna take a day for a break because I felt a bit like, weirdly tired, and I just contributed that to 3 to 4 days of working on the engine and the stuff and the cabling and the wiring to fix the boat. But then the last 2 days I realized finally that everything has come after me, the court, the fact that I've been with the kids and all this stuff. So basically I spent a lot of energy for a lot of stuff, but not myself, and it just came after me. So past 2 days I'm feeling really, I definitely have fever. I'm feeling really ill. Um, so this is kind of like the realization of when are you really alone. Yeah, moments like this. Today I wanted to crawl myself to the shop to get some lemons, some tea, maybe some soups, and I just really had zero energy to pick myself up and go. And then I'm thinking, this is the point where people take for granted those that they have around themselves. Maybe the family members, maybe friends, maybe whoever it is. But if you have someone at the reach of your hand in a situation like this as well, specifically when you need some support and someone to help you out because you're sick or whatever is going on, and that could be even when it comes to mental health issues, it's the same. If you're suffering, then people should be there to help instead of making it worse. So today I realized how many oftentimes in different circumstances and in life there was a difference between feeling lonely and just maybe not being able to connect with people and surrounded with them, and then this when you're alone. And for the most part, I would say these months, especially the last month since I've got the boat and I actually was able to travel around a little bit and with kids and alone, it was really fun. It's really just peaceful and I enjoy it a lot. However, like I said, when it comes to these moments when I would need a pair of hands and a pair of eyes to help me identify what specifically is going wrong in the engine bay, because it's just too far apart, the controls and the engine bay, to see for myself why the boat doesn't want to shift into reverse, for example. So yeah, but that's basic stuff. I could still probably try and solve this with some technical skills that I have. Let's say put a stream on my phone and then just stream it for myself over to the laptop and try to see what's going on. That's possibly one solution. But like I said, after the court, I started to feel this same level of emotional exhaustion and burnout when you finally are faced with the fact that, okay, now I know what the situation is gonna be. It's peaceful, it's okay. And that's when everything comes. You're just like, you think that things are gonna be better at that point, but it's actually always the opposite. When you finally start to feel like peace and rest, that's also when this your body finally starts to tell you, okay, look, you're tired, you're exhausted, you need to rest, you need to do this. And if you don't, then it hits you like it just hit me, right? Like with the lowered immunity and everything, and just maybe really kind of a lack of motivation for the past few days to do anything at all. So it's those are the moments when I'd appreciate a friend, not that I can just talk to on the phone or message, but someone really just here when you can say, you know, please make me some more tea or something. And yeah, it's also funny to hear, listen to people at least I know from not just my own stories, but from others as well. And after being divorced and you've got children and all this stuff, a lot of women for some reason will feel very, let's say, defensive about their position as single moms. And I'm really, as much as I can be as a man, understanding to that situation. You do spend most of the time with kids. It is challenging. There's a lot to do, a lot to keep up and all this stuff. But look at it from the other perspective. When there's a single mother, there's no chance anyone will just not help at least a little bit. Either the neighbors or the family members, I mean the relatives. Whoever it is, it's always there. Um, Single fathers, I've known a few in my life. They definitely did not automatically receive so much help, and if it was more from the rest of us guys. Um, and when it comes to situations like that, like lately, I was also watching yesterday a really cool talk show from one of the YouTube channels, and it's really good. Like, there's a doctor, he also used to be a monk, um, and he talks a lot about the trauma and the stuff, and also how men these days are really pushed aside, as in, like, men can take it, men can suffer, men can feel pain, no problem. So we've kind of been normalizing, or even in some cases, it comes even down to a bit more hateful kind of resentment, as in men deserve, because there was a patriarchic society for so long and stuff. And it's really ridiculous to see that there's a lot, like 80% of all the self-inflicted deaths. So I'm not gonna say the single word, so I don't have to censor myself and risk this stream to get taken down, actually come from men. And it's actually the men, for the men before age of 45, the biggest risk of dying is actually themselves. So this is an interesting statistic. And why? Because, yeah, naturally, as a part of the society and how we were also raised and stuff, we're pushed to the edge and over the edge. Kind of. Most men don't even know how to speak about their feelings, their emotions, and then large majority like myself, which I also belong, in cases like that, when you move abroad, you don't have that many friends around, you don't have your family around and stuff, and you do end up divorced. And they say, oh, you need to find supportive community, you need to find that. Just that everything costs. Literally everything. Whether it's therapy, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to some sort of more, let's say, maybe club for guys who are feeling lonely to find support and stuff. Whatever it is, you need to pay. So, is it really that simple? Sure not. So, yeah. And like I said, when it comes to just generally, like, females are socializing all the time because they're, I think, just need that attention a lot more than the men do, and that's fine. But what happens when men tend to be left alone? Who cares, right? Really, honestly, as far as I can see, most people don't really give a shit. And I'll give you another example. Like, imagine a woman crying on the streets, sitting at the edge of the sidewalk or something like that, or on the bench and crying. Bet my money that she will be approached by someone sooner or later. What's going on? If a man is seen crying out in the public, I'm not sure what people think, but it happened to me a couple of times, and I was never approached by anyone. Nobody ever asked what's wrong and do I need anything. And not to mention, it becomes even more like challenging, let's say, after a relationship that I could describe just as narcissistic, unfortunately. Um, it comes down to this shame and guilt and everything that you're bound to feel anyway. Like you haven't done enough, you're not a good partner, all these things that were told to you the whole time. And, you know, in my case, for quite a few years, which really chips off of you. And then finding that self compassion to, like, I don't know, go out, talk to another person. And all you hear is that other voice inside saying, oh, you're already skipping to another person so quick, you're just like them. Which is not true. Like, even when I needed it the most, whether it was when I had problems during the relationship and I couldn't speak to anyone, or after, I still couldn't just find myself go and talk to someone so easy and find support from anyone. So this is the part when you are facing stuff alone, which doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And, you know, as far as I know, and the science is also just unanimous about this, in order to have a healthy, mentally healthy life, we all need people, society, and, you know, like belonging somewhere and someone. But all in all, we also need to feel loved and safe and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's of course huge challenge, because in this situation there's still, at least for myself, I know, full on responsibility for me to crawl out of this all self lonely kind of walled up life, right? But on the other hand, you also think like, oh, you know, who's gonna want to look at a man who's been divorced twice? He must have done something wrong. All of these kind of things, because there is a large part of the society that just makes prejudices and assumptions based on very superficial level of information and um, what they can see. Because nowadays it's everything more based on the short attention span, so people don't even have the time and the energy to let's say focus on someone else for longer than a shorter period of time and then go on about their lives, because we're all kind of inundated with the same work, responsibilities, information overload, social media, all that kind of stuff. So everything's basically a distraction, taking time away from us for ourselves. And then when we do also need friends and stuff, nowadays I see that everyone relies on this, let's say, support which they can get from the screen itself, not realizing that support means actual person to person human contact. And this is where I'm finding that people are only going to start facing what I already know for most of my life, what it feels like to be alone, what it feels like to be, I don't know, broken or sick and stuff, and just not getting the kind of help you really need, whether it's mental health, or like today, I just need some hot tea and a hot soup, and I'm way too tired and everything hurts me too much to move a finger. So it's like this. And we are as a society forgetting about the importance of being there for each other. Like, surely, especially in places like here in Europe, almost anywhere, 10 to 20 years ago, I would never imagine seeing a guy on a wheelchair stuck in the middle of a bicycling lane, full on traffic, peak time. And then when you see far away that the guy is unable to move and you run towards and you help, figure out that there's a couple of cables that's got loose and they just need to be plugged back. Okay, problem solved. He starts to cry and then tells you that he was there alone, unable to communicate that there is a problem for more than about 20 minutes. This is what happened with the 2020 and onwards, because people just changed in a way that may have not been the best. It's more like we still care for one another, but we started to care more for the people much closer to us than the whole bigger picture. And this is where the effects are now being shown on the young people. I don't know, again, this self-inflicted harm is on the rise throughout all the generations, because there's this certain perfectionism, toxic positivity, everything has to be cheerful, jolly ho and positive in order so that you can fit into the society. And don't you dare to complain, and don't you dare to say anything that doesn't really match with this general narrative. People are becoming afraid of their own shadows. And when that happens, there's not much anyone can do other than hug really helps. In those cases when people are really alone and scared and they don't know what to say and what to do anymore, only a proper hug helps. And we totally forgot about it. And now what we see in the behavior is just a consequence, but kind of like the beginning of what we're still yet to see. And I'm not talking out of my butt here, because I've actually opened this subject with when I was still going to the therapist with my own therapist, and then also a couple of other experts, and they agreed that the pattern is definitely very noticeable. So really, I think people who have someone around them they can call, and that person will come, maybe not instantly, but whenever that happens and they know it can be any time, you should be really grateful for those people, because they do give you that safety net that all of us need. As much as it's really good to be self-sufficient and independent, that's where the true freedom comes from, and the stoicism and all that stuff. At the end of the day, to have a really healthy, supportive, caring relationship with the family, with friends, and a partner, and children, is pretty much the ultimate experience of being a good human, being the better version of yourself. Because we are all doing it for ourselves and at the same time for others. And it's really kind of sad to see that we're not showing enough importance to try and heal all the wounds and misunderstandings that just keep growing. Also due to the fact that we have quite a, let's say, double standard type of leadership everywhere, where we can see that they're saying one thing and doing another, which serves only them for the most part. Large majority of people know it's all BS and it's hurting us all. And in the end, the lack of solution to that makes people anxious, depressed, feeling hopeless. So pretty much almost everyone in this society is experiencing some sort of level of isolation and narcissistic abuse, whether they know it or they don't. That's why it also affects everyone in a very similar way. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how people address this for themselves. For me, I must say, as much as I feel like a bit of a poop tonight or the past 2 nights, usually takes me a couple of days to recover and get back. But the problem is, at the same time, that this time I'm taking to rest here, it costs me a lot, where I could be on an island making sure that my boat is already at least somewhat self-sufficient when it comes to electrical power, and enjoying the sunset on an island. This is something that really bugs me, and it costs me way too much to stay here. And it's still not guaranteed that anything I'm gonna do in the next few days to try and fix the problem that it's gonna work, because it's a little bit out of my reach what else could be going wrong. As much as I'm relatively good with mechanics and fixing stuff, and I've done a lot of handiwork myself, it's really just a matter of I don't see what's going on, and because of that I cannot really identify the problem completely. So yeah, in my case, when I'm alone, I'm really alone, and it does suck quite a bit. But I can't imagine people who have really, really serious mental health issues. Because I've seen many, even wandering around the streets on by myself and looking for an either hostel or a new place to be. And I've seen all these people who are also homeless and stuff, but they are on a completely different level. This is, I don't know, from schizophrenia to paranoia to all this kind of stuff. Just really always hurt me so much that they're completely unseen, invisible in the broad daylight, in a square full of people. And only a person like me sees them and their struggle and goes, "Come with me, I'm gonna feed you a little bit, at least today." It's just good question what happened to people that they became so blind and so unempathetic to a suffering of another person. Even the fact that we don't allow people to feel sad or angry or whatever it is that we feel. If it's not good and serving our own pleasure, then we just don't allow people to feel the way they do. Really, a lot to. I think each and every one of us has a lot to do in terms of realizing and changing that pattern and that habit for themselves. Just try to, I don't know, smile more often at people and do something that makes them feel better instead of just for you. But yeah, we shouldn't keep forgetting that even those craziest bonkers guys screaming on the streets for whatever the reason, whether it's the end of the world and Jesus is gonna save you only, or I don't know, Putin is the biggest enemy. You have all sorts of people believing whatever they want to, and they have their obsessions. But even that guy is just a human being, just someone who, was probably once a hard-working dude, did a lot and sacrificed whatever they could. Things didn't go well, and because of that loneliness and isolation, they went crazy. So you can't really fix them anymore, that's for sure. But at least we can show them compassion and try and accept them into the society as the rest of us are accepted. So yeah. Thanks for watching, Paula. And I'm not sure who is the other viewer, but again, YouTube being so fancy, not showing much. Um, and yeah, let's say, last but not least, before I finish this, one of the things that always hurt me the most is the fact that we have an unbelievable amount of children all over the world that are forgotten, alone. Many of them won't survive. And yet, society is more concerned about, I don't know, what happens to a Kardashian, or where to fight the new war and division party, which clearly, I don't know if people have already started to realize or not, but whether it's the left wing or the right wing, both wings are serving the same bird, and that same bird unfortunately is not flying for peace and for us. Not yet. So it would be time to start really pushing aside our own selfish beliefs and see what's beyond there and how many other people really need help. Because just seeing it and acknowledging it, it will bring us to the point of where solutions will present themselves to. If we're gonna wait for our lovely media and the leadership and the big tech, which I used to work for as well, we can see that nothing much is gonna happen other than a bunch more automation and robotization taking away the livelihood and relatively healthy ways of working that we used to have. So we gotta be aware, people, that once things like that happen to one person, it's gonna start to happen to everybody sooner or later. So yeah, pretty much I think I've emptied my mind on the subject today. Unless anyone else has something to add, I would pretty much say thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting me in any kind of sense. It always means a lot. And I hope you enjoyed it, even though it's a bit of a difficult subject. I wish you a good rest of the Sunday and a nice week ahead. Thanks for watching again. Peace. Thanks, Paula. Looking forward to that. Also, feel free to comment when I'm talking. It kind of helps. So, good night. Thank you. I'll do my best.